Hey guys, this is Rusty and Ricky with Real Texas Capital. We're here just to do a quick overview of how we determine what amounts we're willing to loan, and subsequently how those dollar amounts are dispersed at closing, dispersed through reimbursement, and just kind of the flow of the money. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and I've got a spreadsheet pulled up that will allow us to kind of walk through a scenario that we can display on the screen here. Okay, hopefully y'all are seeing my screen. Rick?
I can see it. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Perfect.
All right, so let's just go through a very simple example and highlighting this blue area here at the top. I'm going to go ahead and try to annotate my screen. And you can see here, let's assume that a borrower has a project in play that they can purchase for $125,000. Okay, that's probably a standard all day long bread and butter play. Let's assume that there is a repair budget to get that property in top shape. It's going to cost them about 100 grand. And let's also assume that the after repair value, the ARV, once they complete the repairs, is going to be worth, the property is going to be worth $300,000. So in a scenario like this, many private lenders will be, and they're all a little bit different, but generally speaking, will be willing to lend 65 to 70% of this ARV number. In my case, in this case, to keep the numbers simple, I just said $200,000 is the maximum amount that we'd be willing to loan on this, and that equates to about a 67% of ARV. So those are our parameters. Rick, why don't you walk us through what happens at closing, how much money the borrower needs to bring to the table, how much the lender brings, et cetera, and get us comfortable with that process.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Russ. I'm going to try and articulate where you can use the pointer well, but the purchase price, as you were mentioning, was $125,000. And usually a lender wants about 15% of that purchase price as what they call skin in the game, or cash to bring to closing, which is that $18,750.
Yeah.
Well, when you're going to closing, you're not only buying the property, you also have additional closing costs. We just estimated it here at $4,500. So when you go to closing, the borrower in this scenario is bringing $18,750, whereas the lender is bringing $106,000 for the balance remaining on the purchase price, and fronting the closing costs for the borrower in this scenario. So roughly $110,000, $110,750, those two numbers combined. Well, if we've got $110,750 that's being used from the $200,000 of loan amount, that leaves the lender with $89,250. The key here is that $89,250 is not advanced to the borrower at the time when they purchase the property. That money, the $89,000 that remains of the loan amount, is retained by the lender at closing. So now you start saying, well, the borrower then has purchased the property, and then now they're going to start the repairs. And one of the things that the way we operate at Real Texas Capital is we don't advance money typically for repairs. We only reimburse the borrower for repairs. So the borrower has, in this scenario, $10,750 that they have available to them for repair work. And so they are going to advance $10,000 of repair and then submit a request to us, Real Texas Capital. And, with pictures and with video and some receipts, and we can confirm that those repairs have indeed been made. We then reimburse them whatever increments in about $10,000 in this scenario. We would reimburse them for that money. So there's a cash flow process there, and then the carrying all during the loan. Russ, why don't you mention, besides the repairs, what's going on with the carrying costs?
So part of the cash requirements when we're underwriting a borrower is, yes, they need money down on the closing. Yes, they need some money to advance for the repairs, and then subsequently we need to make sure they have liquidity available for the carrying cost. So think of this kind of like as a reserve in cash and liquid cash, so that on a monthly basis they can pay us our interest expense, and so they don't get behind on the loan. So in this very typical scenario, the borrower is going to need about 42,000 or 41.5 of cash liquidity when we're underwriting the loan, and that gets us comfortable that they have the cash capacity to perform on the loan, to perform on the repairs, perform on the down payment, so that we're very well aligned with our borrower since they have skin in the game.
Yeah, yeah. So we're bringing 200 to the table. They're bringing 41,500 total on a $300,000 valued property after they've made the repairs. So, it's a little over 10% of the ARV value in this scenario that the borrower is needing to bring funds to the table. So let's just make the assumption that their ARV is exactly what they sold it for, which is $300,000. So now they're going to closing on the back end to sell the property. And so what happens with that 300,000? Well, the lender gets paid off 200,000, and the borrower is going to experience sales and closing costs. What are sales and closing costs? Title policies, maybe some surveys, an appraisal, maybe also paying realtor fees, title company fees, recording fees. All that typically can add up to about 5% of the sales price. So we put in there $15,000. And then, Rusty had previously mentioned the carrying costs of paying interest on this loan. So they have, outside of closing, already spent $12,000 in interest expense, as well as they spent $29,500 on their total investment in the property, which is the $18,750 for the purchase price and $10,750 towards repairs, $29,500. So they're getting that money reimbursed to them. So in this scenario, selling a property for $300,000 would net them a $43,500 profit at the time of closing. Now, this is all assuming that this is a 6-month loan and the borrower gets the repairs done timely and gets the property marketed timely and sold. So I know that's a lot to go over. I know we're kind of going fast, but this is a standard, what we would call standard example of a fix and flip property of a 6-month loan that we see frequently. So
yeah, definitely a lot of detail, but hopefully it outlines a typical scenario. What we want to reinforce here is, as a borrower, you're going to need to have some cash capacity to be able to participate in the deal alongside with us. And if you don't have that cash available, your best option would be to bring a partner to the table that has the cash to be able to take down the property and the loan alongside with us. So hope that makes sense. If you have any further questions or want to discuss a project that you're considering purchasing and need some funding for, we'd love to talk with you. Again, my name's Rusty. This is Ricky. We're with Real Texas Capital. rtx.capital is where you can find us. And thanks for participating.
thank you.